If you are a watcher of the royal family and you like secrets, you might want to sit down because this is a doozy.
Meghan explained the deep secret code that led to the nicknames M and H during last week's podcast adventures.
What could it be? A mystery for the ages. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. What's so funny? Meghan Markle revealed that she and Prince Harry affectionately call each other M and H to keep their relationship a secret, and not because it's short for and.
It happened in under 5 minutes, a nickname, a monologue, a late-night stage, and suddenly Meghan Markle's entire brand collapsed in real time.
So Meghan Markle is back in the news. She's all over the royal news today because apparently her brand, it's already over. It was over before it started. It was a quickie. You know, Meghan Markle, she's known for a quickie on the casting couch. Her brand was also a freaking quickie. So she gave an interview to a US business magazine. I believe it was Fast Company. And in the interview, Meghan Markle said she might never restock her jam, or she might wait till 2026. She wants to step back and assess as ever, which is the name of her brand. She wants to step back, gather data. She wants to gather data and figure out exactly what as ever could be. What data is Meghan Markle gathering? Is she like in the mainframe gathering data?
Stephen Colbert didn't just roast Meghan and Harry, he torched them. What started as a lighthearted jab at their M and H nicknames quickly exploded into a headline-making spectacle. The studio audience was left gasping, and social media lit up instantly. Colbert went all in. He poked fun at their pet names. He took aim at their glossy Netflix docuseries. And he shredded their calls for privacy while they filmed themselves in 4K, lit like a high-end fashion shoot. But he wasn't done. With a smirk and zero chill, Colbert dismantled the entire Meghan Markle media brand brick by brick, leaving nothing but smoke and punchlines behind.
Meghan Markle reveals why she and Prince Harry call each other M and H. Brian, I want you to guess why they would call each other M and H.
It's because it's their initials.
Oh.
Her name's Meghan and his name's Henry.
I thought it was...
You want privacy? Colbert smirked. Cool. Just make sure your documentary of the year comes with royalty-free piano music and plenty of slow-motion crying. The audience lost it. The cameras kept rolling. And Meghan, she wasn't there to cut to commercial or call in backup. She couldn't spin it. She couldn't reshape the moment. This wasn't a palace interview. This wasn't Oprah. This was war. And Colbert showed up fully armed.
Like many millennials who move out, they will stay on the Queen's Verizon family plan.
For years, Meghan and Harry crafted their narrative. Brave, misunderstood, noble souls breaking free from a heartless institution. They left the crown behind with heavy hearts and held heads, or so the story went. But when even late-night most liberal voice stops shielding you and starts swinging, that's when you know the tide has turned. The audience isn't buying the fairy tale anymore. And Colbert, once one of their loudest supporters, just gave the world permission to stop sympathizing and start laughing, not with them, at them.
And I think we were just hit so hard at the beginning with a lot of mistruths that I made the choice to not read anything, positive or negative. It just didn't make sense, and instead we focused all of our energies just on nurturing our relationship. On us.
We hear Meghan say that she's chosen not to read anything,
Positive or negative.
but yet the documentary is almost exclusively about her reaction to things she's read. This discrepancy is worth noting.
To see this institutional gaslighting.
I wasn't being thrown to the wolves, I was being fed to the wolves. You would just see it play out. Like a story about someone in the family would pop up for a minute, and they go, gotta make that go away. But there's real estate on a website homepage. There's real estate there. I went, oh my God.
M and H was meant to be intimate, a sweet, subtle symbol of their unshakable bond. But under Colbert's spotlight, it morphed into a cultural punchline. 2 letters that now represent everything the public's grown weary of. Performative. Vulnerability, designer sadness, and trauma wrapped in a glossy PR boo. The roast wasn't cruel. It was worse. It was accurate. And the moment Colbert's joke hit, so did the message. The M&H clown show is over. And this time, no one's crying.
Now, we all have our theories, of course. Here's mine. I assumed it was for the obvious reason. M is the 13th letter of the alphabet, and H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. 8 plus 13 is 21. 21 was Deion Sanders' number, and Deion Sanders' nickname was Neon Dion, obviously a reference to how they light up each other's lives.
Let's rewind. Before the billion-dollar deals, the podcasts, the docuseries, and the branded jam jars, there was just a love story. Meghan and Harry, M and H, two rebels walking away from the crown hand in hand. Vulnerable, brave, human. That's the story we were sold.
Despite the fact that she and Harry stepped away from their royal roles in 2020. Damn them! This has reportedly enraged heir to the throne, Prince William, who wants to officially strip their behinds of the title once and for all. Is it a bad look for Meghan to still refer to herself as a royal?
From the very start, their brand wasn't about titles or tradition. It was about intimacy. It was about giving us just enough access to feel like we truly knew them, like we were part of something private. Remember the Oprah interview? The silence behind Meghan's eyes, Harry's pause before speaking, the garden setting, those whispered truths. It all felt raw, real. Then came the pet names, M and H, softly exchanged like secret code between soulmates. At the time, it hit, like a cinematic moment. But here's the thing about real stories under the public spotlight. The more they're told, the more they're packaged, the more they start to decay.
Was the move about getting away from the UK press, because the press is, is everywhere, or was the move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
It was both.
Both.
I needed to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well, because I could see where this was headed.
They didn't want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security.
What?
It was really hard. Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially, because I know how much loss he suffered. But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it, and I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
That nickname turned into a signature, a brand identity. It popped up in voiceovers, Instagram captions, press releases, and documentaries, like a watermark on everything they touched. What was meant to feel authentic slowly started to feel manufactured. The intimacy wasn't real anymore. It was curated, repeated, and monetized.
But no, Markle revealed that at the beginning of us dating, when everything was in code, I couldn't tell anyone who I was dating and who was keeping the secret, so I think we were just on a letter basis. I get it. In the 80s, I dated a very famous woman whose identity I will never reveal, and only ever refer to her using our secret nickname, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher.
Wow. I look good, man.
Yeah.
I look good.
I forgot how similar our haircuts were.
Every time they whispered M or H, it wasn't a private moment between two people. It became a sound bite, a marketing tool, a branded whisper meant to sell the idea that love, pain, and vulnerability could be perfectly polished and still feel real. But audiences aren't fooled. They see through the script. And once the curtain is pulled back, there's no going back. That's exactly what Colbert did. He didn't just mock two letters, he exposed the whole illusion. Behind all the glossy lighting and staged reveals was a PR machine wearing a crown.
You've got to have watched some of The Crown, right?
People loving that. Yes, I have actually watched The Crown.
Oh yeah.
Well,
The recent stuff or the older stuff?
The older stuff and the more recent stuff.
Yeah. Do you fact check it while you watch it?
Yes, I do actually. Which, by the way, another reason why it's so important that history has it right.
M&H stopped feeling personal a long time ago. they turned into a symbol, not of love, but of spin. And when a nickname becomes a meme, it's not charming, it's downright embarrassing. But here's the kicker, Colbert wasn't finished. What he said next flipped the entire narrative on its head.
And when you've been through any level of pain or trauma, I believe part of our healing journey, certainly part of mine, is being able to be really open about it. And I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience, but I do think that I would never want someone else to feel that way. And I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans, and I would never want someone else to not be believed. So if me voicing what I have overcome will save someone, or asks or encourage someone in their life to really genuinely check in on them and not assume that the appearance is good so everything's okay, then that's worth it. I'll take a hit for that.
Stephen Colbert used to be one of the good guys, at least from Meghan Markle's perspective. When the British tabloids swarmed like vultures, when the palace stayed silent, and Twitter threads turned into digital lynch mobs, Colbert stood up for her. He called out the racism, called out the institution, mocked the stiff upper lips, and praised the couple's courage. He was an ally, a shield, a safe harbor, until he wasn't. Because when Stephen Colbert turns, he doesn't just raise an eyebrow, he raises hell.
The motto itself is a shield to be able to feed narratives, trading of information, personal information on family members, to take one down to build one up, and through unnamed sources, where there are no fingerprints left behind. So again, one of the reasons why I wrote this book is every word in that book is mine. And I realized that especially...
What do you mean by that?
Because the amount of unnamed sources that have fed information to the British tabloids about me and my wife and my family.
You have a source,
true
and it's you.
And not true. I am the source of that book. And the difference is that instead of hiding behind, unnamed sources, these are my words from my lips, from my mouth. And I understand, especially for British people, that it can be incredibly jarring to have my name to a lot of these stories.
In one savage segment, Colbert ditched the charm and grabbed the scalpel. He tore into the M&H branding, shredded their Netflix docuseries as nothing more than curated vulnerability in 4K, and laughed at the irony of demanding privacy while bathing in 3-point studio lighting and selling exclusive stories to Vanity Fair. This wasn't just a joke, it was a full-on takedown.
Meghan Markle's upcoming animated series Pearl has been quietly dropped by Netflix. The show was set to follow the story of a 12-year-old girl exploring the stories of famous women through history, hoping to inspire young girls with positive stories from around the world. The Duchess of Sussex signed a $135 million deal with the streaming giant to voice the animated series. The streaming provider has seen a mass drop-off in subscribers, leading to billions of dollars in losses and a slew of show cancellations. And Meghan Markle's is one of them.
Gone was the soft sympathy, replaced by surgical satire that didn't just poke fun, it exposed the truth. If this is what privacy looks like, he smirked, I'd hate to see their version of full exposure. Ouch. But it wasn't just the punchlines. It was the permission it handed out. The signal that even those who once stood by Meghan were now ready to laugh. And not just a polite chuckle. A full-throated studio audience belly laugh. It was a moment. And Meghan couldn't stop it.
That's who Meghan Markle is. So talking about work-life balance is just anathema to who she is in reality, because all she does is life. We're not seeing a lot of work in Meghan Markle's life. You know what I'm saying? The royals get up and they do engagements almost every single day. Queen Elizabeth, rest in peace, and Prince Philip, they would go out there every single day and raise funds and awareness for issues in the Commonwealth. Meghan Markle did not want to do that. So her talking about work-life balance when she put her name on some jams, jellies, and dog biscuits, that's it? Meghan Markle, I would dare you to work 40 hours a week. I would dare Meghan Meghan Markle to go out there and have a real job except being a washed-up duchess sitting around her mansion. I dare you, Meghan Markle, to go out there and do that, but I'm not holding my breath.
There was no palace statement to walk it back, no Instagram carousel with a tearful caption, no behind-the-scenes documentary to reframe the narrative. This was public perception free-falling in real time. Colbert didn't just criticize Meghan and Harry, he betrayed the untouchable brand they thought they had. And in doing so, he set off a domino effect. If he could mock them, anyone could. While Meghan and Harry were busy perfecting their next voiceover, the world had already shifted from reverence to ridicule. But the real betrayal wasn't what Colbert said. It was who stayed silent afterward. And that silence was deafening. You'd expect a firestorm. Stephen Colbert, one of late night's most influential progressive voices, publicly humiliates Meghan Markle on national television, and no one says a word. Where were the defenders? Where was Oprah? Serena? Chrissy Teigen's tearful Instagram? Tyler Perry, who literally gave them his house? Nowhere. Just silence. In Hollywood, silence screams. For years, Meghan was protected like royalty, not by the crown, but by elite entertainment power players. When the British media tore her down, Hollywood lifted her up. She was their cause, their symbol of progress, their polished, camera-ready heroine. But something shifted. When Colbert dragged Meghan into the comedy slaughterhouse, the backlash didn't come. Not from Twitter, not from peers, not from Netflix, not even a vague, emoji-filled message from a Bel Air co-star. It was like the entire industry looked the other way. On purpose. Why? Because Meghan's narrative isn't useful anymore. That's the dirty secret of Hollywood loyalty. It's not built on friendship, it's built on optics. As long as you're trending upward, you're protected. But the moment you start sinking, the sharks scatter. And make no mistake, the brand is sinking. The Spotify deal terminated. Netflix projects fizzled or got canceled. The jam line paused until 2026. The Female Founder Podcast? DOA. Suddenly, no one wanted to attach their name to Meghan Markle. Not because of one joke, but because of what that joke represented. The cultural tide has turned. The energy has shifted. The people who once posted black and white photos of her holding Harry's hand under dripping rose petals have moved on to something shinier, something safer, something that won't make them trend for the wrong reasons. Meghan Markle didn't just lose a late-night ally, she lost the entire group chat. And when Hollywood unfollows you in silence, it's not just brutal, it's strategic. But that silence left a dangerous void, the internet. And what happened next? It spread like wildfire. There was a time when Meghan's vulnerability stopped the world. When she said she wasn't okay, people leaned in. When she cried on camera, people cried with her. When she spoke about palace coldness and media cruelty, people rallied. But now, those same pauses, those same tears are met with side eyes, eye rolls, and endless scrolling. Because the moment vulnerability feels like marketing, it stops feeling real. That's the trap Meghan walked into, or maybe ran into. Arms wide open, somewhere between the Oprah tell-all and the Spotify exclusives, between the Netflix documentaries and the luxury lifestyle launches, her story stopped being a confession and started sounding like a campaign. Every beat felt rehearsed, every silence timed, every reveal wrapped in cinematic lighting and a soft piano score. It no longer felt like raw emotion. It felt like product placement for pain. And audiences noticed. They didn't say it at first, out of respect, caution, hope, that maybe, just maybe, there was still something real beneath the gloss. But then came the doiseries, the slow-motion gazes, the curated flashbacks, the our truth branding. Suddenly, the magic was gone. Vulnerability became strategy. Sadness became a brand pillar. Authenticity started to smell suspiciously like a pitch deck. That's what Stephen Colbert tapped into. The disconnect. He didn't accuse Meghan of faking her struggles, he accused her of packaging them. And for the public, that's worse. Because when pain becomes your currency and every unscripted moment feels vetted by 6 publicists, people stop listening. Not out of cruelty, but exhaustion. Even longtime supporters started pulling away. Not because they hated her, but because they couldn't tell where Meghan ended and the Duchess began. And once the line between person and persona blurs, the audience checks out. Not with a bang, but with silence, disinterest, and indifference. The worst response for any. Brand built on emotion, but this wasn't just about feelings, it was about results. And the next chapter of Meghan's story? It wasn't just awkward, it was failing. The deals were massive, the expectations even bigger. Spotify, Netflix, Archwell, Penguin Random House, a lifestyle brand, a podcast empire, a children's book, an animated series, a jam line. On paper, Meghan Markle was supposed to be a media mogul, a one-woman powerhouse redefining royalty, womanhood, and wellness. She had the headlines. She had the money. She had the world's attention. But here's the cold truth. Almost all of it flopped. Let's start with Spotify. The Archwell podcast launched with fanfare, sleek graphics, celebrity guests, and lofty promises to deconstruct stereotypes. But it didn't take long before critics pounced. Boring, overproduced, one-dimensional. Listeners expected groundbreaking insight, but got voiceovers that sounded vetted by 10 lawyers and a marketing intern. Spotify pulled the plug. Meghan's contract was terminated. Then came Netflix, the streaming giant that was supposed to be her creative playground. But outside of the initial duiseries, most Sussex-led projects quietly disappeared. Pearl, Meghan's animated feminist series, was scrapped before it ever saw daylight. Other shows went into development hell or simply died from indifference. Critics' verdict? Beautiful visuals, zero substance, vanity projects in high definition. Then there's the lifestyle brand, where Meghan reportedly poured her heart,